82% of economists in the Bloomberg poll immediately after the EU referendum vote predicted that there would be a recession in 2016 or 2017. So academics tend not to make so many short-term forecasts as city forecasters anyway, but in the Royal Economic Society survey of economists, 90% said that there would be a short-term loss associated with Brexit. In fact, I'd have agreed with that on the narrow question which they had there as well. Then, of course, you had the Bank of England cutting interest rates in August. It wasn't as though it was just some sort of fringe idea that there was a problem economically following the referendum. That was the mainstream view, enough to induce an interest rate cut. And it was wrong. It wasn't a stupid idea. Right? So when the Bank of England, when the Treasury had its notorious web page, front page with recession, with all the cracks and so on in the campaign, that wasn't a stupid idea. The reason that it was natural to assume that you would get a recession in the short term was that the Treasury believed that there would be something of the order of 6% loss of GDP growth by 2030. So if you were going to have a loss off in the future, you'd have expected forwards-looking consumers anticipating such a loss in their income over the medium term to bring forward to today some adjustment in their consumption path. So you'd have expected people to slow down their consumption in the short term. They didn't do it. What does that mean? It means that the economy doesn't believe it's going to be materially worse off in the medium term. Now, the economy might be wrong about that in that belief, but normally economists say that the economy's view in these kinds of matters is the best predictor of what's going to happen. It's the sort of rational expectations idea. So I think that not only are people being too generous to economists over this, but they're also refusing to learn the lesson. What they want to say is, oh, there was something bad about all the models. No, I don't think there was anything bad about the models. I think that what was wrong was their long-term prediction. And I think that what we see in the key piece of evidence that we have over the past 6 to 9 months is that the economy doesn't believe it will be worse off, materially worse off, in the long term. Yes, so I wanted to point out that in the Treasury model, there was a depreciation of the pound about what we've had and a recession. So it isn't that there was one or that it's one or the other. It's not as though we've had a shock and instead of it taking the form the Treasury anticipated, instead it took the form of a devaluation. They said that there would be both. A second thing to bear in mind is the key impact you should expect from the depreciation over the next year is actually the net export gain. So when you have a depreciation of this scale in a currency, the first thing that you expect to have is that the imports get more expensive in respect of committed habits or contracts for purchasing. So your imports get more expensive and your net trade balance probably declines, but it certainly doesn't gain in the short term. Then as people adjust to the new lower prices, you expect things to do better over the medium. It's called the J-curve effect. What we've had so far has been very little net export gain. The ONS keeps telling us that they see no evidence so far of depreciation gain. So what we should expect is that over the next year we will see that coming through.